Hello, how are you?
Good. Let's see. It's gonna let me share to go to Facebook Live. Maybe not. Hi, floating meetings, share. Okay, hold on just a second. Katie, can you help out at all? Can you see if you can go on Facebook Live or not? I don't know why mine is not giving me the option this afternoon. Got a recording here, but
Well, that's interesting.
okay, well, I guess I'll just share the video on Facebook later. It's okay. We won't worry too much about it. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining this afternoon for our native garden planning lunch and learn. I want to thank everyone for coming this afternoon, and this is being recorded, so we will share it on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel at the end, so you can share it amongst your networks. So thank you for coming to the Native Garden Planning Lunch and Learn. This program is funded by a grant from the Unity Foundation of LaPorte, focusing on our demonstration garden planted here at the Barker House, which is Save the Dunes headquarters. And part of the grant is initiative to get the community involved in our garden here, but also an educational arm. So sharing resources and kind of giving people the how-to on getting into native planting and native gardening. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Em Racine. I am Save the Dunes' communications and community engagement program manager. I am by no means a plant expert, but I'm definitely enthusiastic and passionate. And through community engagement with Save the Dunes, it really looks different, a lot of different ways. But I really always try to have all topics to be as approachable from many different angles. And I think that you don't need to be an expert in anything to care about it and kind of do a deep dive into learning. So that's what we're going to do today with native gardening. Like I said, not an expert, not trained in the field of ecology or horticulture or science, soil science or botany, but I am passionate about taking care of the planet and learning practices that are rooted in sustainability and harm reduction. And in my opinion, chemical fertilizer is very harmful. So native gardening will encourage us to use natural things. A little background about Save the Dunes and our mission, if you're not already familiar, but I'll skip this one for today. And I'll just share a little bit of our plan today with today's webinar. So gauging interest, talking about if we're already using native plants, if this is the topic that is just getting started, or maybe you already got a garden all going like we do here at Save the Dunes. We want to share resources, promote the use of things that already exist. So lots of videos and living documents on our website. We want to promote engagement, so encourage folks to take the next step after this learning experience to either get out here at our Barker House garden and get involved and learn a little bit more hands-on, or to share this information with the people in our lives so that we can encourage landscape level conservation across the region. And then, of course, just get excited for spring, because this is the time when the trees are blooming and we're seeing things come up, and talking about gardening and native plants is just very on trend for the season. Okay. So I do want to promote previous presentations and recordings. So Save the Dunes has been promoting landscape level conservation for several years. And a lot of this information is highlighted in our 2 Living in the Dunes guide. So both of these are resources available on our website, www.savedunes.org/resources, and they're shareable and printable from there. The first goes over invasive species, and the second goes over the native plants and the pollinators that they will attract. And then many of our presentations, like this one, are available on our YouTube page. So that's www.youtube.com/@SaveTheDunes1952. And a little shout out to our program director, Katie. She's done a couple of presentations with IUN's community garden. And so those beginner guide to gardening with native plants and a fall garden cleanup webinar are also available on IUN's YouTube page. So definitely dig into these resources, see what's already been shared, and you can deepen your knowledge through these resources. Okay, so when we're planning for a native garden, step number 1 is definitely to observe and plan. So first, you're going to want to make an assessment of the area that you're hoping to plant a native garden in. And this might be a plot of land in your backyard. This might be some container gardens or an area at your school or work or a place of worship that you're kind of in charge of. And this might look a lot of different ways for a lot of different folks. So like everything, scale it to how it might work best for you. In this slide, these are just 2 pictures of the plot of land that Save the Dunes is actively converting into our native pollinator habitat. So as you observe and plant, you're going to want to pay attention to a couple of different things here. Soil conditions. So you want to find out if your soil is sandy or wet or clay, or, there's many different designations, and this has a lot to do with location of downspouts from your house or shade coverage of depending on how wet or dry your soil is going to be. So you want to designate your area through soil conditions and sun exposure. So you definitely want to make sure that you're planting the right kind of plants based on what area you're working with. For example, if you put in plants that need shade into a full sun situation, they're not going to work, and that can be really deterring from continuing on. So you want to make sure that you're picking the right plants for the right spot. And we like to encourage people to visit local areas that may have these same conditions that you might want to be kind of being inspired by for your own native garden. So if you've got a big shady area that you want to make sure you're planting the right kind of shady things into, you might want to visit one of our forests and see how things grow with shady canopy. Or if you've got tons of sun, you might want to take a ride out to the Minoki Prairie and see what grows in full sun there. Excuse me. So once you've got your area and your soil and your sun exposure designated, you've got your plot, you know where you're going to start. This area was just a grassy area we had set aside on the Barker House property, and it did take a few seasons of trial and error before deciding on a native plug planting last fall, and our plot gets full sun and has sandy soil. Okay, step 2. Use soil and bed preparation. A few steps here you're going to want to take to are killing the grass if you've got grass. This is not an easy task by any means. We used a couple of different attempts to kill the grass here at the Barker House. And there is such a thing called the lasagna layering. So you layer different organic materials on top of the grass to naturally kill it, which we did do a little bit of that. But then we also use spot herbicide treatment to kill back any invasives or woodies that were harder to prepare the soil. But these two photos were taken a year apart. So this first photo, we were weeding and cleaning it up from things that were a little bit more aggressive. And then the second photo is preparing the plot right before we planted it. So any of the grass and stuff that had been had died back, we lightly tilled it and prepared it for planting that way. So we really also encourage for any gardening to use as um, natural ingredients or natural things as possible. So this doesn't necessarily mean spraying your whole yard with herbicide. There are many different ways that you can use that are all natural to kill back the grass. Like I said, the lasagna method, or you can also tear the grass up. You can hire someone to come out with a sod cutter and just take it all out in one go. There's a lot of different ways to approach that. So whatever you think would work best for your area is usually the best way to go. You also want to determine from this point after you've got it prepped, if your soil is in good condition and that it is free from any invasives or woodies that might interrupt the growing, and or if you need to add any compost or natural fertilizers to increase the soil. It's to ensure nutrient rich soil for your planting. Okay, step number 3, plant selection. This is probably the most fun part of the planning process, but can also be kind of the kind of daunting aspect of it because you don't really know where to start. So take your time. Definitely start with our pollinator guide. That's where I started when I was planning for this garden. I wasn't sure what I wanted to put in or what would do best, but the pollinator guide organizes everything by soil and exposure and bloom time. It's really organized to make sure that you can pick out just the right plants for your garden area. So you want to choose species based on soil, light, and water conditions of your site and pick the right plants for the area that you're going to be planting in. Like I said, we used our pollinator guide to pick all of our plants, and we paid special attention to the footprint of the plant and the bloom time as well, because we are in the end planting native gardens for pollinators. So you want to make sure that you are providing them with the best case scenario, which means picking plants that bloom throughout the seasons and that the pollinators have food sources throughout spring, summer, and fall. And then also your preference. So you want to make sure you're picking plants that you like to see, that you want to see coming back in your garden year after year. And even though, yes, it is for the pollinators, you definitely are also planting this garden for yourself. So you want to enjoy it and you want to see what's you want to like seeing what's blooming in your garden. And then also another tip for this is to shop local. So, excuse me, we'll be going over a little bit later places that you can get these native plants at. Sorry. Where you can get native plants and where you can shop locally and support small businesses to plant your garden. And here also, we really encourage the good old paper and pen to do your planning. It's hard to visualize what you might be wanting to put in, and especially like you're going to get plants that are pretty small, but these are natives that will both grow exponentially in size and also spread or reproduce or, have a bigger footprint than when you put them in. So it was really helpful for me when I was planning the garden to have a paper with the plot drawn out on it and size and measurements of the plot so that I kind of knew how big each area that we were planting into was and take that into consideration when choosing plants. So, for example, you can kind of see here on this picture that our garden has a pathway that goes through it. So we wanted to make sure that we were planting appropriately to the pathway, that things that were going to grow higher were toward the back, and things that had a smaller or shorter footprint were closer to the pathway, and they would kind of create those boundaries on their own. So it can go a lot of back and forth. We definitely did a lot of maybe this, maybe that, changing it around, making sure we had a nice variety and a nice mix of bloom times as well. All right. And step 4 is maintaining your garden. So even after all the excitement of planning and shopping for your native plants and then getting your native plants in the ground, there's still a lot of maintaining that comes after that. So your native plants will take some time to become established. You can see here in these first pictures are the day of the planting, after we had the ground cleared and got all the natives put in, put our mulch path in. And then the second photo is me in the garden weeding this spring. So thanks to a big group of volunteers, we were able to get 500 plugs planted into our garden. And now the garden is being maintained by Save the Dunes staff and dedicated volunteers at our drop-in garden days. So if you're interested, you should come help and learn together. But the garden will take time after you've got it in. So there is a critical period for watering and weeding for 2 to 3 weeks after planting. So one of the reasons why we decided to plant in the fall versus in the spring, which there's sort of a dichotomy of thought around planting which season. But if you plant in the fall, you only have a smaller window that you need to maintain watering and weeding through before the freeze, versus planting in the spring, you're going to be more it's going to be a little bit more necessary to be out there weeding and watering throughout the growing season due to the temperature and the heat. So you will, and obviously weeds grow during the growing season too, so you'll have to be weeding those out as well. And the thing with also with natives is that you plant them once and they are perennials, so they will come back year after year. And you definitely they need attention in the beginning, but then it pays off with not having to pay so much attention after the growing years versus an annual situation where year after year you're kind of be doing the same prepping, selecting, buying, and planting. Okay. So I do want to share some native plant sales that are coming up very soon. So put these on your calendar if you're hoping to do a native garden install this spring. Um, Gibson Wild Ones has one on Saturday, May 3rd. Friends of the Indiana Dunes has their plant sale on Saturday, May 10th. The Gabus Arboretum has online orders open now through May 1st with a pickup on May 10th. Then the Miller Garden Club is also doing theirs on Saturday, May 10th, and the Dunes Calumet Audubon on Thursday, May 15th through the 17th at the Indiana Dunes Birding Festival. So you've got a couple of weeks now between today and the plant sale. So there's definitely enough time to start your plan, and maybe get a small list of plants together that you're interested in trying. But these are definitely the best places to source these plants. Not only are a lot of them cultivated by seed by a couple of these, but many of them are sourced locally and support small business. Like all the proceeds from the Friends of the Indiana Dunes sale go directly to their mission to support both the state and the national park as well too. So shopping for a good reason at these native plant sales. And I really also highly recommend pre-ordering for these, because you want to know what you want to put in your garden before you just start to go to the plant sales and shop based on what looks good, because what you might like the look of might not necessarily be the best for your garden or your area that you're hoping to put your natives in. So it's good to spend a little bit of time and preparation before going out and shopping for your natives. Okay. I do want to talk a little bit about garden designations as well, because once you've got your plants in the ground, you're already doing such great work to promote native pollinator habitat that might as well get a little designation to show your hard work and maybe flex to your neighbors, your hard work in landscape level conservation. So there's a couple of different garden designations that can be given to native pollinator habitats and native pollinator gardens. The National Wildlife Habitat is a really interesting one, and I know that the city of Michigan City is actually doing a citywide effort for a community wildlife habitat. And if you install a native garden on your property, it can go toward the city's points for getting their designation. It is really fun. You're not only just helping your pollinators, but also your community. And then Shirley Hines Land Trust's Bringing Nature Home Award is a really great community geared initiative as well, because they'll come and visit your garden once you get the designation and be added to their list of other home gardens. And then the Monarch Way Station designation is also really important, as the monarch is considered an endangered species at this point, and we want to make sure that we are planting habitat for our monarch friends. Okay. Okay, and then I also just want to promote that the garden that we have here is a community space for learning together. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm not an expert. I'm still learning every day that I'm in the garden, and I would love for folks to come learn with us. So we are at 444 Barker Road in Michigan City, and we're at the office several days a week. But if you're interested in coming out into the garden and getting your hands dirty to learn, there's a couple of opportunities that we will be out there already on the calendar. So May 3rd, we've got a drop-in volunteer garden day. We'll be doing early plant IDs in the garden. So we'll be looking at all the little natives that we planted last year and their little leaves that have come up this spring and help identifying them early. And then on Saturday, May 10th, we'll be doing yoga in the garden with Sacred Dune Health. That's at 1 p.m. That's free and open to the community. So please RSVP on our website, and we'll be enjoying the day in the garden then, and then doing a little bit more information and sharing on the garden as well. So don't hesitate to reach out and get involved. The best way to learn is just to do it. So if still have more questions or need help getting started, we are always more than happy to help share what we know with you. All right, and then just one little thank you to our funders again at the Unity Foundation of LaPorte. Like they're also funding the yoga in the garden, so thank you to them for that. And we hope that we'll see you at one of our Save the Dunes events sometime soon. And we've got tons of time because I always fly through my slides. So, Linda, I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any questions this afternoon for us too. Now, this is very to the point and just to get you started, but there's a plethora of information that already exists, and be happy to point you in the right direction or answer any questions that you might have for us today. And thank you. Well, I flew through them in a mere 30 minutes. So does anyone want to? Oh, Linda is rewilding 30 acres. That's so cool. And learn everything you can about native plants. Definitely got lots of space to play with, Linda. 30 acres.
Yeah, I've done the what used to be a cornfield, and now I'm waiting to hear if I got this grant I applied for and the county conservation district to do my whole acre around my house with native bushes and native flowers. So we
Wow.
have the prairie, but then around the house I'm trying to do more of like prairie compatible bushes. So this was great. I got some ideas about plant sales. Every time I get on something, I learn something new. So I appreciate what you guys do very much. Thank you for having this.
Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, please check out one of the native plant sales, and everyone who comes to those is also a plethora of information. I think natives are one of those things that once you find your group of folks or your people who also are interested, like you'll always be bouncing off ideas and learning something new and finding something different out. So thank you. All right. Well, if that's it, I won't keep people much longer. We got lots of stuff going on. Happy Earth Month. There are tons of Save the Dunes events coming up as well. So if you're watching this later, check out our events upcoming on savethedunes.com/events. And we hope to see you out in the dunes sometime soon. Thanks.